I grew up in a small town surrounded by dense forests and winding back roads that seemed to stretch into nowhere. It was the kind of place where everyone knew each other, and the biggest excitement came from urban legends passed down from older siblings. But there was one story that always stood out, the story of the Vanishing House. According to the legend, there was an old abandoned house deep in the woods that only appeared on certain nights. If you stumbled upon it, the doors would be unlocked, the windows unbroken, and the lights inside glowing a dull yellow. But no one who ever went inside was seen again. I never believed the story. It seemed like one of those ridiculous tales meant to keep kids from wandering too far into the woods. But one night I learned just how real it was. It started when my best friend Caleb dared me to go exploring with him. We had just graduated high school and were in that invincible phase of life where fear felt like a challenge. So we grabbed some flashlights and set off into the trees, determined to prove the legend was nothing more than a myth. The deeper we went, the quieter everything became. The usual sounds of crickets and rustling leaves faded into an eerie stillness, like the entire forest was holding its breath. I remember checking my phone at one point and realizing we had no signal. That should have been my first warning to turn back. Then we saw it. Through the thick trees, a house stood exactly as the legend described, old but somehow untouched by time. The windows glowed faintly and the door was slightly ajar, as if inviting us in. Caleb laughed, shaking his head. "No way. This has to be some kind of prank," he said. I didn't answer. Something about the place sent a chill through me. It wasn't just old. It felt wrong. But Caleb was already stepping forward. "Come on," he said, pushing the door open. The inside was pristine. No dust, no broken furniture, no sign of decay. The air smelled faintly of something familiar but unsettling, like burning wood mixed with something metallic. The walls were lined with old photographs, but when I got closer, my stomach twisted. The photos weren't just old, they were moving. The people inside were shifting slightly, their eyes following us as we walked past. I grabbed Caleb's arm. "We need to go." But before he could answer, the door slammed shut. The lights flickered and the temperature dropped. Our breath turned to mist as we spun around, trying to find a way out. Caleb grabbed the doorknob and twisted, yanking with all his strength, but it wouldn't budge. Then we heard it, a creaking noise like slow footsteps coming from upstairs. We froze. The sound wasn't hurried, wasn't frantic. It was deliberate, as if whoever or whatever was up there knew we had nowhere to go. Caleb's flashlight flickered, then died completely, plunging us into near darkness. I backed up until I hit the wall, my heart beat so loud it drowned out everything else. The creaking grew louder, closer, then a whisper, so soft I thought I might have imagined it. "You shouldn't have come." Caleb let out a panicked yell and started banging on the door. "Let us out!" The whisper came again, this time from behind me. "You shouldn't have come." I spun around, my flashlight shaking in my grip. For a split second, I saw something in the reflection of a glass cabinet. A figure, tall, gaunt, its face hollow and eyeless, standing just inches behind me. I didn't think. I just ran. I grabbed Caleb's arm and yanked him down the nearest hallway. The house seemed to shift as we ran. Doors that had been open before were now shut, hallways stretching impossibly long. The air felt thick, like wading through invisible water. Then up ahead I saw it, a door slightly open, revealing the forest beyond. "Run!" I screamed, pushing Caleb forward. He reached it first, shoving the door open just as a force like ice wrapped around my wrist. I screamed as something yanked me back, but Caleb grabbed me, pulling me through the doorway with a strength I didn't know he had. We tumbled onto the cold dirt outside, gasping for air. And then the house was gone. No lights, no walls, just trees and darkness, as if it had never been there at all. We ran back home without stopping, not daring to look back. We never spoke about it again, not to each other, not to anyone. But every now and then, I dream of that place, of the whisper in my ear, and of the hand that nearly pulled me back inside. Sometimes when I wake up, my wrist still feels cold. But it didn't end there. A week after our terrifying encounter, strange things started happening. At first it was small, shadows moving in my room when there was no one there, the feeling of being watched even when I was alone. Then Caleb called me in the middle of the night, his voice trembling. It followed us. I didn't understand at first, but then he told me about the footprints he found leading up to his bedroom window, the distorted reflection he saw in his mirror that wasn't his own, the way his phone screen would flicker and show glimpses of that hollow-eyed figure just before shutting off. And I had experienced the same things. One night, I woke up to a soft creaking noise. My bedroom door was opening by itself. My breath caught in my throat as I saw a dark figure standing just beyond the threshold. The same gaunt frame, the same eyeless stare. It didn't move, didn't speak. It just stood there watching. I don't remember what happened next. I must have blacked out from fear because the next thing I knew, it was morning and my door was shut. But the air in my room was ice cold, and on my wrist, there was a faint bruised mark, as if someone or something had grabbed me. Caleb and I stopped talking after that. He moved away for college, and I stayed behind. But even now, years later, I can't shake the feeling that the house never really let us go. Because sometimes, late at night, I still hear the whisper, "You shouldn't have come."